and welcome to Series 6 of Property Elevator, the show where we give budding property developers the chance to pitch their deals to our 6 seasoned property professionals. These are John Howard, Ranjan Bhattacharya, Paul Mahoney, Nicholas Wallwork, Hayley Andrews, and Scott Marshall, or who we call our property investment angels. Now, we all know property is not a game for the faint-hearted. With hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds at stake, yes, the rewards can be great, but if it goes wrong, it can go very wrong very quickly.
I am Scott Marshall, founder and managing director of Roma Finance, one of the UK's leading specialist finance non-bank lenders. In my career, I've done almost 20,000 transactions. And as Roma Finance, we've done 2,500 transactions for almost £500 million worth of property deals. I'm here because I love to lend. I'm interested to know about you, your background, why you're doing this opportunity.
Hi, I'm Paul Mahoney. I'm the founder and chairman of the UK's leading property investment advisory company, Nova Financial Group. I'm also an experienced property investor and developer.
High-level figures, so, purchase price, costs, profit. We can just try to clarify that slightly.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Wallwork, investor, developer and co-founder of wealthlabs.co.uk, one of the UK's leading wealth creation and property training companies.
I see all the risk in the build-up, like the guys there. That's the problem here.
My name's Ranjan Bhattacharya. I'm an investor and developer for the last 30 years. I specialise in converting defunct commercial buildings to residential use. I'm the founder of Succeed in Property, the UK's leading training course provider for commercial property investors and developers.
I think for me, in this phase of the market, I'm looking for quick in and out, and I see this as being 3 years before it's done.
Hi, I'm Hayley Andrews. I'm the co-founder of Your Freedom Empire, a business and property training organisation. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I'm a developer and property entrepreneur.
I'd be happy to look at a deal like this, but I don't think that your numbers stack up. I think that you could work with an architect and get a much better layout.
Hello, I'm John Howard, and I've been a property developer and investor for over 40 years. During that time, I bought and sold over 4,000 properties in 84 different locations across the UK. That makes me the most experienced and most successful angel of them all. Although I wasn't in the studio, you will be hearing from me after each pitch. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to Property Elevator. We've got some brilliant deals in store for you today. Let's get straight to it. Johan, welcome to Property Elevator.
Thank you very much.
And what have you brought in terms of your deal?
We have brought an office conversion located in Bedfordshire.
And how much investment do you need from the angels?
Up to £1 million.
How much profit do you think that you could bring our angels?
2.4 million to 3.6 million.
And why did you actually apply for the show?
We want to provide young professionals with more quality living. So we're looking to take a step up. Hello angels, my name is Johan, and I'm very excited to be here with you today. We see co-living as one solution to the shortage of homes that the UK are experiencing. This type of accommodation provides quality homes while helping people manage the increasing cost of living. We are here today seeking a business partner for a new co-living startup. The deal presented is an office conversion, which we're looking to retain fully. So our vision for this building is to keep ground floor as an open community lounge with appropriate companion business to provide vitality for the co-living, like a cafe or gym or offices or yoga studio. It's going to be a car-free development, and we're looking to occupy the ground floor. The upper floors will contain serviced co-living with ensuite rooms between 20 to 25 square meters. A communal kitchen, utility room, and work and relax spaces. We're also looking to add an additional 1 or 2 stories, and we're looking to acquire this subject to planning. So the property is 25,000 square foot. We've based our calculations on 2.1 million, which is 82 per square foot.
Believe it or not, property and property projects are all about the people and the people that are involved in those projects. So great people, good people, can create value, great value, out of bad property. So for me, I'm interested to know about you, your background, why you're doing this opportunity.
So I come from a software development background, which is very similar, solving problems, finding solutions, learning something new every day. This one in particular, we got from an off-to-market campaign. We received a response to a different building, and they said, this is not for sale, but we may have this one.
And have you done something similar before?
No. So it's a big step up for us.
Great, so just on your market section within the pack, great pack by the way, you've got 87 available and 151 people looking. Is that spare rooms?
Yes.
Have you looked at any other platforms?
No.
No. Do you think that shows good demand?
Yes, only 9 of those are en suites.
So the en-suites are what missing in this market?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
And then, what we're creating is superior in size and quality.
Okay.
So I would say it's a comparable.
So you're creating 60 to 88 rooms?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And just remind me the rent on those per room?
900.
900.
I don't see anything in here about the feasibility of actually getting the planning. So has a proper feasibility been done by a planning consultant?
No.
Not at this stage?
No.
So the offer is subject to planning with nothing down, but obviously the planning fees will have to be put up to get up to that level.
The cream of this development is in the 2 extra floors, right? So if you can only do 1 extra floor, the development is much less profitable?
No, I wouldn't say so, no. Given the conversion cost isn't out of balance, we've still deducted 30% on GDV.
Okay.
So it stacks on each floor, but it makes more on the uppers.
And the ideal scenario is the GDV is about 12 million? Is that right as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the costs, the bulk of which being the conversion costs, obviously, and the extra floors, where have those costs come from? As in, you've got a figure here per square foot, but how have you come up with that figure?
We've entered those. So we haven't done much research in it. We had a QS come in, but he didn't deliver. He costed something we didn't.
So
really
they're
ask
your
for.
estimates.
They are, yeah. So this is
based upon previous experience, or talking to a builder, or where do they come from?
Based on asking other people and hearing from education and doing research and stuff like that. But they're very much, the budget here is very much, we need to validate those figures. And if they work, this is what we're getting out of it.
Yeah, I think that would be my main concern looking at those numbers, because they seem to be about 30% light.
Oh yeah.
Which equals about £2 million.
On the existing building or the additional?
Both. They're both about 30% light.
Okay.
I think Paul's being a bit harsh there. You've got to start somewhere, Paul.
No, I understand,
but you've got to get your education.
I was trying to get these numbers to stack up, and it's quite difficult to do it when you add in that extra build cost.
No, very valid.
I think it's important on any project to sensitise the numbers, that they work either up or down. So you go into the transaction with your eyes wide open as to what could or could not happen.
Can I just check the 12 million GDV? Is that based off the revenue or?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's part of the first table. So the tables kind of build upon each other to arrive at the budget.
Okay, but it's all shared living, or have we got a mixture of apartments?
No, so we've been very light on the ground floor. So we've put a monthly rent on 5,000. If we rent it to ourselves, we can control rental levels. If we were to rent it to restaurants and stuff like that, we'd be able to increase the value on the ground floor significantly.
Can I just make a point about what is being planned on the ground floor, which is obviously this is a co-living space, and to expect, whether it's yourselves or independent operators, to come in and run businesses from the ground floor, they've got to be making profits.
Yeah.
So if in terms of the footfall, in terms of the usage, in terms of what gets bought and traded within the shops and cafes that you're proposing, there's got to be something in it for them. There's lots of examples of these kind of schemes where the ground floor operators that were expected actually don't make any money, and that means the whole scheme can fall over.
Okay, listen, I think we've had enough of a chit-chat about this one. What are we thinking? Nick, who wants to start us off? Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I think you've done really well. I think you've done a really good pack. There's a lot of detail to it. And as I said to Paul, you've got to start somewhere, you know, guesstimates, education. You've said that you would need to get a QS. So I think before any firm deal is struck with the vendor, you need to get your QS in as well, pay a little bit of money there. You know, you're going to have to invest a few pounds to get that surety on your numbers to make sure the deal does work. And you don't waste their time. You investing in property, you don't want to waste the vendor's time, you get a bad reputation. So when we offer, we stand by our offers. I think.
So are you in? Oh, wow.
Well, with a QS report, I might be, Ranjan, you know, but
Tiptoeing it around there.
yeah, exactly. I like that. Is this
Thinking
one for me,
about
it? This one is right up my alley. I'll tell you 2 reasons why I'm not going to make you an offer. One is I don't believe the layout you've got will be accepted. I think it is too intensive. I think you need to make more of that ground floor, putting in the right kind of tenants for a co-living block, not just a chip shop or a normal shop, something that's not related to the building. So I think you need a more cohesive scheme. I think you've got too many rooms for the communal areas, and I think that will come up at the planning stage. And secondly, it's a little bit big. So those are the main 2 reasons. There's a few more, but I think you're great. I think you're very investable. I think it's a bit big for you at your time in your journey. But yeah, I wish you all the best going forward. Maybe one of the others will feel differently.
Who wants to have
I'll
a go
jump
next?
in. I mean, you know, compliment you on the pack. You've done a great level of work here, especially for someone who hasn't done a building of this scale before. So I agree with Nick. I think you've done a good job, and you're very investable. I also agree with Nick that I think this is a big step up, and you said it yourself. You know, it's a big step up. Obviously, some concerns around the costs, and I think you definitely will find when you do get a good QS that those costs will jump up quite a lot, and that will pretty much, from what I can see, wipe out the profits. And on that basis, it doesn't make sense for me.
Hayley?
Yeah. So I agree with everyone else. I think that your costs are quite light. Paul's bang on. I get about 30% light on both scenarios as well. I think it's a great scheme, and it's something that I would like to look at. However, I think your 12 million GDV based off the revenue, if we're only looking at around the 88 rooms, I think it was maximum. I think that's massively over.
We based we based it on 10% cap rate on the ground floor and 8.5 on the upper floors.
Yeah. I'd be happy to look at a deal like this, but I don't think that your numbers stack up. I think that you could work with an architect and get a much better layout. I would do cluster flats, as Nicholas said. I think that would work a lot better. Several cluster flats, so you still got kind of like studios but a communal space, but you're splitting it up so it's not an 88 bed shared living apartment as such.
Spot on, yeah.
So it would feel a little bit more homely. I think the scheme looks great. However, with the information I've got in front of me now, and with all due respect, lack of information you have on the ground floor tenancies and things like that, I wouldn't be able to make an offer at this moment in time.
Scott?
So look, you're somebody who's clearly on a journey. You've got other stuff going on at the moment. This is a big step, doing a building like this. The costs are understated in the pack, but there are other opportunities and things to do with this building. So, you know, looking through the numbers, existing usage as a commercial property, looking at the rent that's coming in, whether the tenants are inside or outside of the Act with the rights or not to renew, it's not a bad yield at just under 7%. Okay, so actually an opportunity to renegotiate the purchase price, bring that down a bit, and then look at the Act, look at whether the tenants are inside or outside the Act, whether they've got the rights to renew, get the planning for an alternative use, re-look at it, and there are some options with this building, but this is quite a long-term project. I think it is a big project to take on, particularly at your stage in your journey. So therefore, it's not one for me, but I wish you all the very best with it and good luck.
Well, I think my fellow angels have been a bit wussy on this one. You know, I would never discourage you from going big. It's either go big or go home.
Oh, here we go.
So if you'd come to us with a feasibility report, a proper feasibility report, then I think you'd find that a lot of us angels knowing what's feasible can then help you shape the proposal and get the optimum development on there from an entrepreneurial point of view. And for that reason, there's not enough information for me to assess the proposal. But I know you're early on in your career, and the steps that you've followed I think have been absolutely fantastic. And the methodology you've followed is the one to follow, but always think big. I mean, the trouble with co-living is that at the end of the day, you got another tenant nicking the cheese out of your fridge.
No, we've moved on from those types of co-living spaces, Ranjan.
Don't compare us all to the HMO you live in.
In actual fact, it's becoming more and more popular, and a lot of internationals go for co-living because they want that ready-made community.
Some property
And
owners
it's
provide high quality living.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about a whole load of rooms in an old office block. It's actually about, you know, Taco Tuesday and Freaky Friday, and it's the community element of it.
Well, that's all very well, but let's see what John Howard has to say.
Now, every angel has their expertise, and in this one, I think I'd listen to Hayley because she's the expert on service accommodation. What Scott knows about it, goodness knows, or even Ranjan. He purports to have a number of these, but he seems to be more obsessed, as you know, with commercial and residential than anything else. But Hayley's a very smart lady, and I would always take the advice from her. If I was sitting next to her and she said, this is too big a scheme, etc., etc., I'd take her advice, and looks like they all did.
So Johan, how did you find the whole experience today?
It was good. It was fun. It was nerve-wracking, but yeah, it was good.
Hi Mark, welcome to Property Elevator.
Thank you very much.
So where have you come from today?
I am coming from London, so not too far from here.
Great. And is that where the deal is that you've brought as well?
Actually, yeah, this deal is actually in South Kensington, so a prime piece of London, and we are talking about a building, 6 floors.
Excellent. Tell me then, how much investment are you looking for from the Angels?
So this is a pretty big project. Obviously, South Kensington comes at a premium. The overall investment will be about £8 million.
And so what would it mean to you then if you were to get the funding today from one or maybe a few of the Angels?
Obviously, the experience is the number one key, number one sort of factor which I'm truly looking for. Obviously, given it's a very big project, the fund needed is crucial. But ideally, I'd be looking at working with 2 of the angel investors for their experience, and hopefully, this is one of many deals to come in the future.
Fantastic. Well, good luck. My fingers are crossed for you, and I will chat to you when you get out.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark.
So we have Mark Camilleri coming to see us. He's got a very exciting deal in Kensington where he's looking to convert a house into 5 flats. He's after £8 million from us with a 26% return.
It's going to be one of the biggest
and a
asks yet.
50-50 split.
Okay.
Well, he's presented his pitch deck in a brown envelope. There's nothing inside it apart from the pitch deck.
That's
shame.
unfortunate.
Not a couple of million sweat equity.
There's nothing
other than asking for £8 million.
Well, let's see whether the deal is worth it.
Let's.
My name is Mark. I'm a French-English citizen. I live in London, worked in tech for about 10 years, and I've decided to spend my time and bandwidth in real estate. I'm a small property investor. I've got a couple of properties in London, service accommodation. I'm completing a couple of properties in Liverpool, which are basically HMOs. And the project today that I'll be talking about is a building in South Kensington, so SW7, so a prime piece of building of property in the heart of South Kensington. And this is an off-market deal. So through a contact, I got to know about this opportunity. The guide price is £5 million. At a high level, the project is a conversion, more like we're going to basically lay out the property into 5 premium flats. As you can see in slide number 4, the idea is to convert the first floor into the low ground floor into a 3-bedroom flat. The second flat at the raised ground floor will become a 2-bedroom flat. Same for flat 3 on the first floor, and on the second floor, again, another 2-bedroom flat. And finally, a duplex on the third and fourth floor. So just to give you a bit of an overview of the numbers, as mentioned, the guide price is £5 million. The total development cost, we're looking about 2.8 million. I've taken a price per square foot of £2,200 compared to a
Per square foot?
Sorry, the total development cost, so the price per square foot for building it is about £375 plus contingency, so we're bringing it about £400. Obviously, we want it to be very premium. The resale price is currently, I've put it at £2,200 per square foot. Realistically, we could achieve more, given the comparables I've shared in slide, I believe, 5 and 6. As you can see, most of the properties have sold at around £2,400 per square foot, which is about 10-15% over what I'm projecting. I've lived in the neighbourhood for quite a while, so I know that part of London very well. It's extremely sought after. I'm assuming most of you know it pretty well, so I'm not going to go into too many details as to how great of a location it is, but it's 5-10 minutes away from Gloucester Road Station and South Kensington Station, so that allows for an easy commute. What I'm looking for, I guess this is the reason why I'm here, is for an investment of £8 million, give or take. This is the guide price plus development costs plus additional fees, including professional fees, and the gross development value. So ultimately, what I'm looking for to achieve is £11 million, give or take, on the resale price. So the profit would be about 25-26% on capital implemented, so on cash invested, and that would be more specifically a profit of £2,755,000, so basically £2.8 million. The project should take about, realistically, 18 months. The reason why I believe, even though we don't have pre-app, is given that the property has already been rented out for 10 years as 5 different flats, we can get a statutory declaration, which should hopefully ease the application process and get us through the door. So this is a high-level project, and I'm very happy to take any questions.
So great to see you, Mark. Ambitious. I like to see people think big on this show. It must be one of the biggest money asks we've had in the last couple of series, £8 million. Nicholas, what are your thoughts?
Well, small change for me, Ranjan. I think
back at the sofa, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably down here somewhere. It's not in the brown envelope, though, unfortunately. No. Do you take cash in brown envelopes?
I know many people in London who do.
Oh, do you? Okay.
But unfortunately, I'm not one of those.
Hopefully, some builders that take it.
Absolutely, builders are great for that.
Okay.
He
seems to like brown, doesn't he? You've got brown jumpers, brown envelopes,
brown shoes.
Brown shoes.
There you go. Can't say I'm impartial to a brown shoe myself. I just want to get straight to the numbers you've presented there. 25% ROI. That's not per annum, of course, is it? So actually, that annualises down to about 16%.
Yeah.
So I think straight off the bat, we'd need to be talking development finance to bring the cash input down. Are you open to taking development finance on it?
It is an option. Obviously, the profitability goes significantly down depending on what are the options. So obviously, it'd be great to understand if any of you have some experience. Obviously, experience you do have, but some good opportunities for financing it at a good price.
Obviously, property is a people's game, and I think for any of us to joint venture on something of this size, it would be important for us to know about you and your experience. What have you done in the past?
Clearly, this project is bigger than anything I've ever done. So off the bat, this would be my first big sort of conversion into several flats. I currently have 2 properties in central London that I've turned into service accommodation. So I've renovated them, I project managed them. I am currently competing on 2 properties in Liverpool as HMOs, they're 6-7 bedroom HMOs, ideally for young professionals. So basically, that's the angle. And this would be ultimately the first project I would be doing at this scale.
Sorry, can I just jump in? Have you got money tied up in those projects? Because You're not at the moment offering to put any of your own cash into this deal. So what do your assets and your liabilities look like to be able to offer some kind of downside mitigation or downside hurt pain for the upside gain that you're looking for from us on this project?
So I do have money invested. So the 2 properties in London are my own money. So obviously, we're talking about 70% equity, 30% equity in them. So they're raised at about, the properties are valued about 1.1 million. The properties in Liverpool, those obviously are small change, but they are my own deposit. And I would be willing to put 50 to 100,000 just to show that I've got some skin in the game.
So if we bring 8 million, we bring the experience, and you bring £50,000.
So yes, absolutely.
I think this is a ultra high net worth
family home investment, maybe turn it into a beautiful house as a bolt hole from another country. It's a capital growth investment, I believe. It's not one for an investor, because by the time you get down to 16%, if you start taking development finance, which any investor is going to want to do, the margins get reduced further. It's just far too much risk for far too much money. I could do 10 deals for this money and be making a 35% margin on each of those, and do several of those concurrently. So I'm afraid it's not one for me. Hope you get lucky with one of the other guys.
I'm going to echo that and declare that I'm also out. I don't think the margins are there, and I 100% agree with you.
That's the least I've ever heard Nick speak.
Well, have you got planning or any indication that you'll get planning for the 5 flats that you've proposed?
So I've spoken to a few people who are architects and somebody who works on these kinds of projects, and he said it would be very, very likely, which is why he mentioned the the statutory declaration regarding that this property has been operated as a rental property with 5 properties in it. So currently there were tenants in them.
Yes,
and
but I don't know who's giving you that advice, but a statutory declaration is just exactly what it says from the previous owner. That is not a certificate of lawful use for its current usage. And that would need a full application to the council with a huge amount of documentary evidence. And I'm just looking at the layouts of the existing floors, and it's a typical house of this era. It's a little bit higgledy-piggledy, and the flats aren't exactly self-contained. So you've got bathrooms on half landings on mezzanine floors, which are sort of shared by other floors. So because of that lack of self-containment, which is very typical in how people have configured these houses long time ago for rental, but it would be exceptionally hard to get a certificate of lawful use for this as 5 self-contained flats, because they'd turn around and say they're not self-contained. You've got bathrooms which are on half landings, which are not self-contained to any flat. And plus there's all the documentary evidence that you have to provide. That's a massive issue. So then if you went for full planning permission, we have to look at, like with the lower ground floor, that it wouldn't pass daylight assessment. You're looking for a big flat there with only windows to the rear. So have you looked at the feasibility of getting 5 flats in this building without having to rely on a certificate of lawful use? Because I'm not sure you'd get that.
Yeah, so given the time, this opportunity was shared to me quite recently, and given that also the deadline is actually quite soon before the bidding process starts, I wasn't able to do as much sort of due diligence as possible. I have spoken to a couple of people who have done these projects, and given the location of the property, given basically his experience, he said it would be very likely. I'm aware that you all have more experience than I do, and I'm aware how difficult it can be to get application. But given it's SW7, given that there are already people who have lived in there as normal tenants.
How long?
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years, and you've got proof of that as well?
Yes, there is proof for that. The owner would be happy to share sort of rental leases about that, yeah.
So just going on to onto what Ranjan was saying, and I take the point around the bathrooms, but actually if it's been operated as 5 flats for kind of 10 years or more, actually that's an insurable risk. So you would be able to get insurance in the event that you didn't get, so to be able to operate it or sell it as flats. So that kind of deals with that point.
I think the issue there is that even if you did get a certificate of lawful use for its existing use, because you've got half landings where the bathrooms are, how would you reconfigure that?
You've also got the entranceway and your separate entrances to different flats. There's obviously it's more complicated than that, and I get it. I think the point is though that if something has been used in a certain way for a long period of time, and 10 years or more is a long period of time, you can get insurance for that if you want to continue a property using it in that way. It looks like, I mean, it sits beautifully. It's a great location, great property. I kind of echo what Nicholas is saying, insofar as it's an awful lot of money to put into one scheme for a limited return, which is high risk, particularly in a current economic climate. So it's not one that I'll be investing in, and I wish you all the best for the future. But I think you presented yourself and the project very well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Paul?
Yeah, I think the difficulty with this one is, as a cash development, it just works if all the boxes are ticked. if you get the planning quickly, etc., etc., etc. Nicholas made a good point. When you add in, in my experience, no one spends 8 million quid cash to do an 11 million GDV development. You need to get finance for that because we want our money to go further. But when you add in the finance costs, it doesn't really work, especially when what Scott said was quite right. This market is relatively volatile at the moment. So you might see a softening in prices, and that brings down the returns as well. And then you add to that the fact that we're splitting the returns in half, and it might take a lot longer than you think because planning is very unpredictable. So for those reasons, I think it's going to be difficult to stack up, and it's not for me.
You could buy the Sydney Opera House for 8 million, couldn't you, Paul?
I don't think you could buy it.
Have you seen stuff of this value over there?
Nicholas, I think, to be honest with you, in Sydney right now, some of the parts of Sydney,
Sydney's more
you
expensive
might
than
get a
London.
vegetable patch.
Any more questions on
Maybe
this
I should go to
deal, or
London.
shall we declare our offers?
I already have.
I already have.
I don't think the planning's feasible on this one. I've done quite a lot of central London stuff, and personally, I have moved outside the M25.
Did I hit? Hang on, did I hear that right? You've moved outside the M25
for exactly the reasons.
Did you get a nosebleed?
You've been listening to John.
just in
He's
case.
gone to Watford.
For exactly the reasons that Nick said. You can make your money go far further, and you can turn it far quicker. And the other problem with London, which hasn't been covered yet, is the exit route. The exit route, you always need to have multiple exits, not just sale, but rental. But the exit route through rental in London is exceptionally poor. The yields are poor, and you will end up leaving a ton of cash in if you have to exit through that route.
Great point.
So those are what
It's a
key
good point.
reasons
You only
why
be able to
I've-
finance that at 50% as an exit.
Exactly,
Yeah.
if that. But it's commendable that you found this off market. That's a very, very good talent, and use that talent just to find more easier to bite off and chew deals that you can be in and out of quickly with multiple exit routes would be my advice.
We'll potentially package this up and sell it as a package deal. 2% on 5 million quid. It's not a bad little fee to keep your business going for now.
I've got a good pipeline, so hopefully,
Excellent.
if the stars align again, I'll be able to share some more. Well,
Good
thank
luck.
you, and again, thank you all for your opinions. It's I agree with you. It was ambitious, but sometimes reach for the stars and you land.
Absolutely.
On the dream. So,
Yeah, of course.
this is hopefully what I'll do. Thank you.
So 8 million quid. Got to admire the guy for thinking big.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50 grand down.
50 grand down, yes.
That's a push.
To be fair, look, even if this was offered to me as a deal sourcing with a 2% finder's
It
fee,
still wouldn't
I
work.
would take
No.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that's the reason he was asking for 8 million, because when you add in the finance, it's not worth doing.
Yes. But I think the thing that a lot of people miss is that when a property's been on sale for a long, long time, they're still hung up about giving the vendor what they want. It's about using the fact that it's been on the market for a long time, it's difficult to shift, and going back with what it's worth it for you to actually buy it.
This is
Not
off
what the
market
vendors-
though, isn't it?
It's off market, so it's not on the market.
He
Look,
said
I've got a saying.
They've been trying to shift it for some time.
Yeah, but he
Ranjan,
also did
I've
say
got a
it's off
saying,
market.
which is, in any climate, in any market, in any environment, if you buy well, you can sell well.
Yes.
You make
And
your
at
money on
5
buying,
million
don't you?
And at £5 million, I don't think you're buying well.
Is that
No.
your saying, Scott?
You buy well, you can sell well.
Well, John has 8 million quid in his back pocket. Let's see what he has to say about this deal.
Mark, you've got some balls. You've come into the show wanting £8 million. Now, there's one or two angels, and I'm thinking of Ranjan in particular here, and maybe Scott, who potentially could have funded a deal this side. I'm sorry, Hayley, if you think I'm being mean to you, but that's the nature of the show. And Paul and Nicholas. But it's got to be a hell of a deal to invest £8 million. And this deal, for me, wasn't good enough. I could have funded it, but I wouldn't have funded it either. And I think the Angels made the right decision on this occasion, even Ranjan.
Mark, how did you enjoy the experience in the room today?
It was a great experience. Got some great feedback, some great insights. I absolutely agree with them on some of the bottlenecks I might encounter. I was aware of them. But then again, it's still a great property, and who knows, maybe I'll find some other investors for this deal.
Hi Charlotte, welcome to Property Elevator.
Thank you.
Tell me firstly, where have you come from today?
So I've come in from Chesham in South Buckinghamshire.
Brilliant. And is that where your deal is located as well?
It is, yes. It's in the centre of the town there. I'm looking to develop a travel lodge with some apartments in a mixed-use scheme.
So how much investment then are you looking for from the angels?
So I'm looking for about 1.8 million in investment, and the deal looks like it will produce around 2.4 million in profit.
Amazing. And is this something that you're looking at doing on a full-time basis?
Definitely, yes. Yeah, this would kickstart my business, yes.
Okay, well, good luck. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
We'll chat when you get out.
Thank you.
Quite an exciting proposition coming up now. In Monopoly, people transition from the greenhouses to the red, the hotels. This is a hotel proposition down in Chesham. We've got Charlotte coming to see us. It's a new build proposition. She's looking for £1.85 million with a 70-30 profit split in our favour. So we might be all gunning for this one. Let's take a look.
My name's Charlotte. I come from Chesham in South Buckinghamshire, though you'll be able to tell from my accent that I actually come from New Zealand, and I've been in the UK for 5 years. I'm looking to develop a travel lodge in Chesham with around 10 apartments as well in the complex. Chesham has an acute shortage of accommodation, and particularly South Buckinghamshire as well. So the site in question that I'm interested in acquiring for this deal is in the centre of Chesham. It's very close to the train station, very well connected for bus and taxi, and it's currently vacant. The owner, he owns it through his own pension scheme, through his company, and he is interested in looking at the options that are available for the site. The bulking for the previous planning permission shows that it would yield probably around an 80-room hotel as well as the 10 apartments. So you'll see in the packs that I've done a couple of appraisals that look at the figures that would produce. So we're looking at a gross development value of around 11.5 million to 11.7, a profit of around 2.5 million. So that's a profit on GDV of 21% and profit on cost of 30%. And that produces a residual land value of around 850 to 1.1 million. And the vendor paid 400,000 for it in 2011. I'd be looking at lending of around 7.8 million and cash into the deal of around 1.85 million. So to tell you a bit about myself, so I have about 10 years experience in the property industry, and I currently consult in development strategy and financial forecasting. I've worked with development managers and developers on quite large residential schemes for central and local government, and also at the University of Oxford. So I have degrees in history and property and an MBA from Oxford as well. And so this deal for me would represent the beginning of my own development journey in my own business rather than working for someone else. So I would be very keen to work with a property investor who'd be interested in developing out this scheme with me, and I welcome any questions.
What a great pack. You're clearly professional. You've got an MBA from Oxford, you've got the degrees, you've got lots of corporate experience. Don't you think this is a bit of an ambitious first project on your own account, essentially?
Yes, it definitely is, and that's why I'm looking for a weighted joint venture heavily in favour of the investor, because one thing I didn't mention is that I wouldn't be bringing any equity to the deal, and so I do recognise that it will be a significant financial risk for an investor.
Sure, okay. And you expecting that investor to take the mortgage on their name as well? Because you wouldn't be able to get a mortgage of this size on this kind of deal in your own name yet.
No, I would be expecting it to go through a special purpose vehicle, but for the due diligence to go through the investor's financial.
The investor would have to be on that as a director and obviously major shareholder. Okay, all right, thank you.
What's the time frame?
24 months.
And the cash on cash return is 20% over that 2 years?
So the cash on cash return for the whole deal is around 30%, and then the cash on cash return for the investor will depend on the weighting of the joint venture.
Just to come in on that 24 months, is that 24 months you're talking about to build out, including getting the planning?
Yes, including getting the planning. So I was sort of allowing 6 months for planning and 18 months for build out.
Do you know how long it took to get the planning for the first proposal in 2008?
I think it went in 2007. It went back in, no, I don't know offhand. It's in the planning history, but I don't know.
I think I would suggest that the timescales for this would be a lot longer.
Okay.
It may take you a year and a half to get planning on a proposal like this and that sort of council.
Okay.
Can I ask you about so you talk about the travel lodge. Have you secured them as a tenant? Is that the intention?
Yes, yeah, so I've spoken with them and they're strongly interested, and their numbers have informed the development
How
appraisals.
strongly interested? Is there something on paper?
No, not yet, no.
Okay.
I assume you wouldn't be exchanging on this until you had a signed
No,
lease from them.
absolutely,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you
and
come
ideally
about?
an end purchaser signed up as well, the full deal.
Yeah. So
How
it's,
did you come about that relationship?
So they're looking to develop 127 new hotels, and in particular 3 towns locally in Buckinghamshire. But when I spoke to them as well, they actually listed off some other towns they were interested in, but they felt that Chesham and Kings Langley were the 2 that were the best suited to their brand.
Look, I'll declare my hand quite early here. There's a few things for me with this. First of all, you've got great theoretical experience, but you've not done any developments yourself. You also have no cash equity that, or even hurt equity that you're going to put into this scheme. And what you really need, what you're really looking for, is somebody who is experienced in the hotel space, in the development space for commercial, that can kind of help you on your journey. I'm not the right angel for you, and I wish you all the very best with it, but it's not one that I'll be taking forwards. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
I'll follow suit on that. I think it's a great pack. You're super investable, very well qualified. I'd love to do a deal with a fellow Antipodean. I think this is a deal that's okay if it goes really well, but it's one you lose your shirt on if it goes badly because of the GDV and the amount of cash that needs to go in, and the fact that essentially the JV partner would be bringing that financial stability to this deal, and therefore risking that financial stability is the downside to this one. So for those reasons, it's not for me.
Thank you.
I think for me, in this phase of the market, I'm looking for quick in and out, and I see this as being 3 years before it's done. So for that reason, I think it's the wrong thing for me at this time in the market.
Thanks.
Wow. I mean, the amount of information in this pack, I haven't had a chance to go through all of it, but I'll definitely be reading it tonight. I love data, I love research, I love hotels, that's my area. Your market research that you've done on the demand, the competition, is fantastic. I think it's brilliant, so really well done. Unfortunately, the risk versus the reward in this particular plot and proposal doesn't stack for me really, but I think you're absolutely wonderful, and well done. But I can't invest in this one, I'm afraid.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's interesting because a couple of things that weren't clear from the pack, which make it a little bit more interesting, is the fact that you think you can get it subject to planning, and that you're very confident you can get a signed lease on it. I mean, there's obviously some negotiation to be done there.
For sure, yes.
Yeah, would you consider flipping the site once you get planning, rather than building it out? Because I see all the risk in the build out, like the guys there. That's the problem here.
Yeah, I would definitely consider any route to sort of the
Making money.
end goal happening and making money. I would need assistance from an angel in finding a suitable developer to flip it to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I could help with that. I can certainly help you with the planning as well.
Yeah.
You've obviously got your experience. We've got very practical commercial experience. So, together there could be something there. I wasn't interested in this really, as you've been talking, but a couple of facts have arisen, and it's getting more and more interesting. What you've said that they probably want, up to $1 million, you think they would want for the site now?
I think that would be a reasonable offer for them, because you may have seen that the development appraisal that's in there for apartments doesn't actually stack, and I imagine that that's what they would be looking to do.
Thinking. Yeah. So do you think an operator might be interested in forward funding this deal at all?
So I would be really interested in exploring the forward funding option. I'm not sure whether an operator would or not, but certainly I think an investor would be interested in forward funding. Yeah.
We'll look at all options.
Yeah.
I suppose from the experience that I've got, hotel operators don't generally forward fund sites like this, but I'd know some people that would be interested to fund the development of this, subject to an operator coming in with a lease, once.
Absolutely.
So you get the lease in place before it's built. Someone comes in that I know I can introduce you to that would fund the development of it. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
happy to make that
appreciate that.
introduction
In light of
if needed.
that information, and if
Oh,
you're
here we
able
go.
to do
Here
that,
we go.
I'd be back in, actually.
Back in? You're not allowed to come back in.
I'm allowed to come back in.
You can't come back in.
I can.
Okay,
I
what
think
you
you just
back in
did.
with? What you back in with?
So how would you feel if we could actually do that, and it's possible, and you could do the introduction? How would you feel about working with me on that? Hotels is my background, and
Well, hang on a minute. What am I making an introduction for without a slice of the action?
I've got plenty of funds we can use
Got
to forward
plenty of
fund,
money.
Hayley. So once we've got that lease, we'll be able to sell that, no problem at all, forward funding it.
yeah, I think so.
Scott, would be useful to hear his context if he wants to get involved. But I think forward funding is the easy part once we've got the lease agreed and we've got the deal secured with the vendors. I think that is the easy piece here.
Yeah.
So what are you proposing? That we go 50-50 on a deal with Charlotte?
Yeah.
What were you offering in, Charlotte? Can you remind us in terms of the percentage split? Was it 70-30 you said?
70.
Yeah, I presented a few different options depending on what you thought was reasonable.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
On the basis you contribute £1.9 million.
It's 1.7.
If we need to. But we're getting it
But
subject to planning.
if there's forward funding involved, that would reduce the...
It's forward funding, and if we can get it subject to planning, we need an exchange deposit at worst for now. So I'd be willing to do that.
I think this is quite exciting.
Yeah.
Actually.
I mean, I'd be interested at 80-20 so that we get 40% each. Because now you're in, actually that makes it quite a bit less interesting for me.
Thanks.
On the financial return side, come on, Hayley. You know I would love to work with you.
That's a good point, actually.
Would that be of interest to you?
Would you be interested?
From my perspective, could you both tell me a bit more about your experience with hotel development?
Absolutely. From my side, I've been a developer for over 20 years. We own well over £60 million worth of property. We've developed over 100 million and sold over 100 million with various clients. We've done plenty of conversions. Our latest was 30,000 square foot conversion back to residential. So we've dealt developments of this scale and we could run the site no problem. Hayley's also done lots of development but has some specific apart hotel skills.
So
we bought and sold a couple of hotels, by the way, as well, so I should mention that. Kind of relevant information.
Yeah, so I own hotels and apart hotels as well. Hotel research was my background. I looked into hotel data, where hotels should open up. I'm a developer, been a developer for 20 years. So hotels is my bag. That's what I do.
I would be pleased to accept a 40-40-20 joint venture with both.
Brilliant.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank
Good
you.
choice.
Can't wait to work with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
I'm not as
That could
upset
be really
now
interesting.
that you've made your offer in that way. I would really love to work with you. I think our skills are really complementary.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm glad,
gonna be
Nicholas. I was really worried.
I thought one of these buggers was going to come back in as well.
Yeah, we could have all come
we
back
got away
in.
with it.
You know,
We
it's
got away with it.
go on, sorry.
If that comes off, it'll be brilliant.
It will.
I think the chances
It
of it
will.
coming off, though, with your flip idea is probably relatively slim.
I mean, the flip was one idea, but to be quite frank, if we can secure that lease, there's a good chance we'll build it out. If we get comfortable with the numbers, there's more development profit to be made there. And actually, what we didn't discuss on the interview with her there was that we could asset manage that and possibly tweak the planning even better. You know, once we get into it and look at the planning side, maybe there's a bit more resi on the top or a bit more hotel. I mean, there's all sorts of things we can do with that. I'm thinking like the apart hotel route could be some of the units rather than pure resi and pure hotel.
Yeah.
So
No, I think this is a super exciting deal, and it's right up my street. I'm excited.
let's go and celebrate.
Well, let's go and see what John has to say, whether he would do this hotel deal.
So when I'm looking to invest in a deal on the show, I want to invest in the person as much as the deal. And with Charlotte, well, what a inspirational young woman she is. Super bright, Oxford educated, as you know now. So no one got this deal until Nicholas twigged it at the end. I twigged it straight away because at the end of the day, if you've got a national hotel chain wanting to build and to have a hotel in that area, then it's a no-brainer because you sign them up before you actually build or do any work. So you've already got it funded by a bank because you've got a major hotelier taking the lease from you. No brainer. None of the other angels got it. I can't understand what they were thinking. It just shows how small deals they do, because if they did bigger deals, they would have twigged onto this straight away. And it wasn't until Nicholas said at the end, they all wanted to come back in, oh yes, that's a good idea. Too late, guys. Nicholas is on the ball and the rest of you weren't.
Well, you certainly brought some fire into the room. I heard there was lots of drama.
Yes, yeah, there was a bit of an argument about rules.
Brilliant. Yeah, you had them all fighting over you, didn't you?
Which was fantastic, because at the beginning it seemed to be heading in a not so great direction, so it was excellent for it to turn around.
Amazing. Yeah, so how are you feeling then?
I'm really pleased. I'm excited to have 2 investors on board with complementary skill sets, and I think we can do something really interesting with this deal, and we need to move quickly.
So who did you partner up with then?
So I'm joint venturing with Hayley and Nicholas.
Excellent. You've got 2 fantastic angels on board there with you. Lots more deals done today, and as always, a little bit of drama between our angels. But that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.